All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Waharakakwadosh. Double honors to the apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders of the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect out here toiling in this truth. And Shalom to the few sisters, the Akwathim, that listen and learn in silence. To all of you, I say Shalom. I'm the priest Bathak Amath, Jim S. Dallas. Just coming back at you with a really quick hit lesson. And I'm going to entitle this, John the Baptist, who was a Levitical priest, passed the torch to Yahawashi, you know? And, John was a forerunner of Yahawashi. He was going to usher in Yahawashi, man, which signifies the changing of the priesthood. You know what I'm saying? And John knew that, you know what I'm saying? So of course you got, cats out here talking about John the Baptist wasn't in the truth or fell out the truth. And you got this other clown talking about that the Levitical priesthood was going to be in the kingdom, which is crazy, man. It's not biblical, man. The Levitical priesthood was a forerunner as well, that was going to usher in the actual priesthood under the order of Melchizedek, which that priesthood is what has always been about. You know what I'm saying? Before there was a Levitical priesthood, which we'll get into it. But John the Baptist, he knew that, man. And that's why he said what he said. So really quick, let's go to what I want. I want John the 3rd chapter. And we're going to drop down to, that's why he said this. Let's drop down to verse 20. That's a good place to start. 28, maybe. Well, let's just start at verse 27. This is John 3:27. It says, John answered and said, a man can receive nothing except it be given him from heaven. Verse 28, it says, ye yourselves bear me witness that I said, I am not the Hamashiach, or not the Mashiach, but that I am sent before him. See, there it is, that forerunner. He was sent to usher in Yahawashi. It says, he that hath the bride is the bridegroom, but the friend of the bridegroom, which he was, Yahawashi the bridegroom, the bride represents the nation of Israel. He was the friend of the bridegroom, which standeth and heareth him, rejoiceth greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. This my joy therefore is fulfilled. Yep. That's exactly. It's fulfilled, because that's exactly what happened. And he ushered in Yahawashi. So here it is right here, verse 30. Here's the point. It says, he must increase, talking about Yahawashi, but I must decrease. That's John the Baptist. So Yahawashi has the increase and he has the decrease, representing that changing of the priesthood, the Levitical priesthood, man. You know what I'm saying? That's that decrease of that priesthood and the increase of the priesthood of Yahawashi under the order of Melchizedek. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going on, man. You know what I'm saying? So we'll continue to read verse 31. He said, but that's the point. Verse 31, he said, he that cometh from above is above all. He that is of the earth is earthly and speaketh of the earth. He that cometh from heaven is above all. So Yahawashi is above all, man. You know what I'm saying? And that represents that priesthood about an order of Melchizedek, man. You know what I'm saying? So, which Yahawashi was, and the scriptures tell you that he was that priest, that high priest, man. As a matter of fact, when you read in, let's go to Hebrews, the 2nd chapter real quick. And let's drop down to verse 16. This Hebrews 2:16, it says, for verily he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham. Talking about Yahawashi. It says, verse 17, wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to the Most High, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people, man. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And as a matter of fact, when you jump up to let's jump up to verse 9. Well, right there in the heading, it says Yahawashi briefly humble. Verse 9, it says, but we see Yahawashi, who was made a little lower than the angels, for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he, by the grace of the Most High, should taste death for every man. Yeah, he became that sacrificial lamb, but just proving that that's who this is talking about. That's why it says right here, he took not on him the nature of the angels. He came lower than the angels. He took on the seed of man. That's why in verse 17 it says, it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren. And Yahawashi came in the flesh, and he understands what it's like to be in this flesh, man. And that's with that understanding, him being that faithful high priest. He's that mediator between the Most High Yahweh and man, us. You know what I'm saying? The Israelites. And he's been in this flesh. He knows what it's like in this flesh. He's been tempted. He went through he did what we did. He ate, pooped, pissed. He did everything that we do. You know what I'm saying? In this flesh. So, the temptations and all that, he went through all of that. So, being that mediator, he can, say, no, hold on, tell his father, hold on, father, let him make it on that. You know what I'm saying? Because he understands why it says, verse 17, Hebrews 2 and 17, wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest. Yeah, he never came in the flesh. He wouldn't know to have that mercy, because he would not know what it's like to be in the flesh and go through what we go through in this flesh. You know what I'm saying? So he did that so he'd have that understanding, and that he might be, like it says, a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to the Most High. Being that mediator between us and the Most High, pertaining to the Most High, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. Yep. So, but proving he's that high priest, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's why when you read actually in Hebrews the 7th chapter, it goes into that one, like, he was like the Son of Man. But we'll just start at the Hebrews 7, and we'll just start at the top. It says Melchizedek's priesthood, like Hamashiach's, because it's one and the same. Hebrews 7 and 1, it says, for this Melchizedek, king of Salem, or Malak Shalom, king of peace, priest of the Most High power, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a 10th part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, or Malak Tazadok, and after that also king of Salem, or Malak Shalom, which is king of peace. Yep, Malak Shalom. So it says, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of the Most High, abideth a priest continually. A priest continually. This represents Yahawashi. Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the 10th of the spoils. So he paid tithes to him. And verily, they that are of the sons of Levi, who received the office of the priesthood, which was the same as that representation of John the Baptist, and, it was a forerunner. That was to usher in the actual priesthood of Melchizedek, or Yahawashi. That's why I said in the heading, Melchizedek, his priesthood, like Hamashiach's. But it says, and verily they that are the sons of Levi, who received the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take things, select, to take tithes of the people according to the law, that is, of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham. But he whose descent is not counted from them received tithes of Abraham. Yeah, he wasn't a Levite, man. And it's going to go into it. And blessed him that had the promises. And without all contradiction, the less is blessed of the better. And the less represents the Levites. The better represents Yahawashi. You know what I'm saying? So they were blessed of Yahawashi, of the better. And here, men that die receive tithes, but there he receiveth them of whom it is witnessed that he liveth, which is Yahawashi again. You know, and as I may so say, Levi also, who receiveth tithes, paid tithes in Abraham. And it's going to break that down right here. For he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him. You know, so he paid tithes, man. You know, through the loins of Abraham, he paid tithes, you know, to Yahawashi, which proves that it was all about that priesthood, period. Point blank, bottom line, period. You know, that's the ultimate priesthood. That's where everything was going. You know what I'm saying? Just like we had the law, which was a schoolmaster, you know what I'm saying? Which was about, you know, Yahawashi as well. You know, this whole thing is about Yahawashi, man. You know, and you got these people that don't want to, you know, reverence him. You know, they don't want to worship him. They don't want to give him any kind of props, man. Yahawashi is a man, man. You know, no getting around it, bro. And these dudes are finished, man. Hebrews the 7th chapter and verse 11. It says, if therefore perfection were by the Levitical priesthood, which it wasn't, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should rise after the order of Melchizedek, and not be called after the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, boom, for that nigga Alazar, you know what I'm saying, talking about it's going to be the Levitical priesthood in the kingdom. No, man. And that's one of the reasons they disregard Hebrews. They don't want to deal with the book of Hebrews, you know what I'm saying, because it goes against their narrative. It says, for the priesthood being changed, there is made a necessity, a change also of the law. For he of whom these things are spoken pertaineth to another tribe, which is going to go into it, of which no man gave attendance at the altar. And here's the point to break that down. Verse 14, for it is evident that our Lord sprang out of Judah, of which tribe Moses spake nothing concerning priesthood. Right, you know, and that's the new priesthood coming by way of him, Yahawashi, by way of the order of Melchizedek. It says, and is yet far more evident for that after the similitude of Melchizedek, there it is, there ariseth another priest. Yeah, Yahawashi, man. You know, which is they're one and the same. You know what I'm saying? Verse 16, who is made not after the law of carnal commandment, but after the power of an endless life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you know, you get, like it said, men die and you know, he liveth, you know. So as a matter of fact, what did I want to go to? There was something, yeah, that priesthood, yeah. Because the priesthood is changed, man. You know what I'm saying? And it breaks it down in Revelation, the 7th chapter. You know? And right there in the heading is Revelation 7 and 4. In the heading, you see it right there, the 144,000, man, which represents the priesthood and the kingdom, that kingdom priesthood, man, the governing body, you know, of the coming kingdom, which represents the priesthood. It says, Revelation 7 and 4, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. And then it goes into them. Verse 5, of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Ephraim, which is what Joseph represents, were sealed 12,000. And of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000, which that's 12,000 men from each 12 tribes, which is the 144,000 that you see in the heading, which is the governing body of the kingdom to come, which is the new priesthood, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what that's going into. So again, the Levitical priesthood, just like John the Baptist was a forerunner for John the Baptist for Yahawashi, and the Levitical priesthood which he was a part of for the new priesthood by the order of Melchizedek, which is Yahawashi's priesthood, man. You know, with that governing body, it goes into it, which we'll get at Isaiah the 9th chapter, you know. It's Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 6, and it reads, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder." That's 144,000, you know. "And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty Power, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace." You know, what was Melchizedek called? You know, King of Peace. You know, they had same titles because it's one and the same. Yahawashi, it says, verse 7, of the increase of his government, you know, that new priesthood and peace, there shall be no end. King of Peace, you know, there's going to be no end of peace here, you know, because the same order, same one and the same person, upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Lord of armies will perform this. So, yeah, man, you know, that's what that's going into, that new priesthood, that government. You know, it's going to govern the earth in righteousness. You know, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, man. You know, and these things are all because the Lord made promises. He made covenants with his people, man. You know, the Lord said that he was going to make his nation a nation of kings and priests, which we'll get. But real quick, I want to get this real quick. This is Genesis chapter 35, and we'll drop down to verse 11. And it reads, "And the Most High said unto him, I am power almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of thee, and kings shall come out of thy loins." You know, so kings, man, are going to come out of the loins, you know, of Jacob. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to Abraham, man, you know, which is the chosen line, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you know. So, what was the next one? Let's get this in. Here's Exodus chapter 19 and verse 6, and it reads, "And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel," man. So the Lord said we're going to be a kingdom of priests, you know, a nation of priests, a kingdom of priests, nation of kings. Salakia, you know. Let's get another one. This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 41. And it reads, "Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth." So it says, behold, look, a people shall come from the north. Hello. And a great nation, it's the nation of Israel, man. Beginning starting with the elect. "And many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth." From all them places they've been scattered. As a matter of fact, when you read in which we'll get it. I don't want to get that yet. I'll wait and get that to make that point. Let's go ahead and get it. Revelations, the 5th chapter. And we'll start at verse 9, going into them coasts that we're going to be raised up and become kings. Which, this is Revelation, the 5th chapter, verse 9. It says, "And they sung a new song, saying, Thou art worthy to take the book and to open the seals thereof. For thou wast slain, Yahawashi, and hast redeemed us to our power," or to the Most High, "by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation," because we were scattered there, you know. Verse 10, "And has made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth." There it is, man, you know. So that's that nation of kings, the kingdom of priests, because it's going into the kingdom right here, man. But it says, and this is those that were coming off those out of those every coast of the earth, because that's what's going to happen from the four winds. As a matter of fact, Matthew, let me get that real quick. Matthew 24 and verse 31. Matthew 24 and 31, red letters, Yahawashi speaking, and he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. And that's going back to those coasts, But get it again, Jeremiah 50 and verse 41. Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth, So Revelations 5 and verse 9, that's what that's going into, 9 and 10. And it says in verse 10 is the point, and has made us unto our power kings and priests, and we shall reign on the earth. So those kings and priests, which was always the ultimate thing, he was going to make us a nation of kings and priests, a kingdom of kings and priests, which goes back to the order of Melchizedek. As a matter of fact, let's go back to Hebrews, the 7th chapter real quick, because it was a never-ending kingdom or priesthood. This is Hebrews 7 and 17. It reads, for he testified, thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And we're going to jump down to verse 24. It says, but this man, because he continueth ever, he liveth, hath an unchangeable priesthood. So the priesthood is never going to change. It's forever. It's never going to change, And it was always that kingdom, because like it said, when you read up, now consider this man, how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the 10th of his spoils. And verily, they that are of the sons of Levi, who receive the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tithes of the people according to the law, that is of their brethren, though they come out of the loins of Abraham. But he whose descent is not counted from them received tithe of Abraham, and blessed him that had the promises. And without all contradiction, the less is blessed of the better. And here men that die receive tithes, but there he received them of whom it is written, Salaki, whom it is witnessed, that he liveth. There it is, man, because so Abraham paid tithes, which Levi, through Abraham, paid tithes to Melchizedek, which proves that it was always about that priesthood, man. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, let's get one more and end it on that to prove, the priesthood of Melchizedek was before the priesthood of Aaron and the Levites, man. This is Psalms chapter 110 and verse 4. And it reads, Yahawashi hath sworn and will not repent. He's not going to turn back. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. There it is. So that priesthood is what it was always about, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the priesthood that's coming into play, man. And John represented that, man. He was a forerunner, to usher in Yahawashi and Yahawashi's priesthood, which was, we read it in Revelation, the 7th chapter, 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes, that 144,000, which is the governing body of the next kingdom to come, which is the priesthood to come. That's what it's always been about, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I just want to do a little quick hit. Hopefully this was edifying, made sense and edified. And with that, giving all praise and honor and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahawashi, Waharakakadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elder bishops, and the elders of the great millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect, the house of David, the Bayah Shalom.